Hello or bonjour, explorers. I am Kita Explorer, and today I'm here to talk about traveling solo to Napa Valley. So I'm going to give you a full solo travel guide for Napa Valley, and if you're not traveling solo, this can help you plan your trip to Napa Valley as well. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about things you need to look for and plan for and prep for before going to Napa Valley, as well as give you some suggestions of things to do, place to stay, and all of that. So let's get into today's video. And before we do, if you're new here, welcome. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and a notification bell. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Now let's get into today's video. In this travel guide for Napa Valley in California in the United States, we're first going to talk about planning and prepping for your trip. So if you are going to Napa Valley and you're not in the region, you will probably be flying into San Francisco Airport, which is SFO. So keep that in mind when you're booking your trip. There is another airport in Oakland that you can look to book to, but they don't have as many routes or options as San Francisco's airport. But they're still in the same vicinity, and you can fly into either of them and easily get to Napa Valley or Sonoma County or any of the wine regions in Northern California. Also, I highly suggest when you start planning for your trip to Napa Valley to start researching and looking for the wineries, the tasting rooms, the vineyards that you want to go to. There are so many wineries and vineyards that you can go and visit within the region. Like, there's no way you can visit them all. So you need to find the wineries and the vineyards that you're interested in going to based on the type of wine they may serve. Because I went to a winery and they pretty much focused on white wines. So if you don't like white, you may not want to go there. Or you may want to go somewhere that has a variety. You may want to go somewhere women own. I don't know. You want to make sure you look for those that fits your needs and your wants and whatever you're looking for in your trip. So definitely start doing your research early, because it's important to do that research, because you also need to look into booking times for those tasting rooms or visiting those vineyards. You cannot expect to get to Napa Valley and just walk into a tasting room or a vineyard and expect to be served. A lot of times, especially the award-winning wineries and vineyards, are booked out and could be booked out for months or even for a year. So you want to make sure once you find those vineyards and wineries, there's tasting rooms you want to go to, you start looking for bookings. So you definitely need to know where you're going to go and have some backups. And then once you figure out what vineyards, which wineries, tasting rooms, or any other activities that you're going to do while you're in the area, you want to book an accommodation near those activities. So that was my plan. I had booked an accommodation near the activities in Sonoma, and then all of them got wiped out except for one of the activities. So if I would return, I would just stay in Napa, because at least if something happens, there are a lot of things around Napa. I could always drive out to the vineyards, and there's always downtown Napa. So those are definitely some considerations that you need to have in mind when you travel to the area. So flying into SFO or Oakland, researching the vineyards you want to go to, booking in advance, having a backup plan, and booking your accommodation near those activities. Now, the next thing I want to share with you is transportation. So if you are from out of town, which obviously you probably are if you're looking at this video, and you're traveling to Napa Valley, Sonoma, whatever, they don't have ride sharing like that out there. So you're not going to find the Uber and the Lyft easily available. Definitely not a Waymo like they have in San Francisco. So you need to make additional arrangements for your transportation around the region. So there are some options. One, you can always take a private transfer from the airport to your accommodation in Napa or Sonoma. To and from, not getting you around the area. You can always get there and rent a car, or you can actually just rent a car from the airport and drive it from the airport yourself, and then be able to drive around the region. Now, mind you, if you are going to rent a car and drive yourself, please drink and drive responsibly. Do not drive under the influence, and you could potentially run into cops out there, because I definitely saw a few cops hiding tucked away along the road as I was driving through the region. But you can also hire a private driver. There are some options out there. I did not go with the private driver because as being a solo traveler, that adds up quick with your money. But there are private drivers out there that you can literally arrange your itinerary and they'll drive you around to where you want to go. So you don't even have to worry about not drinking too much or having to stay longer so you can wear off your drinks from the wineries and all of that. Now, real quick, let's talk about safety. You know, I always touch on safety in all of my travel guide videos. This area is in the United States in California. There are other countries in this world that do have travel warnings out about traveling to the US. Some common things or overarching things about safety in the US, especially around being African American or a Black person. Obviously, you can run into racial tensions. I did not run into anything out of the ordinary when I was in the region, but that's not to say it may not happen. Also, you could run into issues of just a lot of conflicts going on right now, or, you know, negative attitudes and everything. Watch the news, go on social media, you can see for yourself. But there could be, you never know if you could run into someone who just doesn't appreciate you for who you are, whether you're an immigrant or if you are a minority or even a woman. So you definitely have to be mindful of those things. Now, mind you, I did not run into any of those issues while I was out in the region. California seems to be a little bit more lax when it comes to diversity and respecting other people's cultures, but that does not mean it does not exist out there, because it exists everywhere in the US. So definitely be mindful of that. Traveling into the US anywhere, obviously some places in the US are worse than others, but speaking of my experience being from the US and visiting there, didn't experience any negativity or anything out of normal visiting the wine country in Northern California. Okay, now let's jump into the fun things, the activities, the attractions, where to stay, all of that. So first of all, let me touch on where to stay. So if you are planning to do more things in the Sonoma area, you may want to stay at the DoubleTree by Hilton Sonoma. I love the hotel. The hotel was wonderful. The staff was great. And it was right off the main road that you would take to get like back to San Francisco, the freeway and everything. There was fast food nearby. I didn't really spend much time in the vicinity of the hotel, but I do know the hotel was clean. There was no rodents. It was safe. I felt good there. Now, if I go back to the region, I probably would not stay there again because I would want to stay somewhere near Napa. So if you are planning to spend most of your time in Napa, that hotel is not for you, but you can check out the hotel if you're interested in seeing the tour. I will have it linked down below. Now for attractions. So when I got there, I actually spent a day in San Francisco before going to the hotel. So I highly recommend, if you've never been out to San Francisco, just to go around to see some sights, get a little bit of touring in before you go to Napa Valley. Now, when you get to Napa Valley, there are several things that you can do. And I just scraped the surface. But first time visitor, these are some great recommendations for you. And I may go back again later this year or next year. We'll see. Don't know for sure yet. But here's some things you can do. One, you can go on the Napa Valley wine train. Now, as a solo traveler, you won't be able to do a lot of the different packages they have on the Napa Valley wine train because it is intended for at least 2 people or more. You can go on the Napa Valley wine train and go on the afternoon tea car, which I do highly recommend if you enjoy tea. You do get a little bit of wine, just 1 glass. And it's more like a sparkling wine situation. I cannot remember the name of it, but you do get that glass and then you enjoy tea and a lot of food. And that car is very cute, it is decorated nicely, and you get to see all the sights. But you do not get to do the wine tastings like the other cars do. And you can buy additional wine if you want. And you can also bring a bottle of wine onto the train if you would like. I believe the afternoon tea experience was $225. And some of the other packages, if you're not traveling solo, it can be even more, like the panorama view, the wine tastings, and all of that, because it includes more things in it. Mind you, it's going to include your drinks, your food, and the transportation to and from or round trip on the train. Another activity you can do, in which you probably should do while you are out in the Napa Valley wine country, is to go to tasting rooms or vineyards. You can go to tasting rooms. So like, for instance, the Brown Estate is just a tasting room. You cannot go to their actual vineyards, which is not in Napa. I can't remember the town, but it's further out. But you can go to their tasting room and try the wines that they actually make on their vineyard. You'll see a lot of those tasting rooms in downtown Napa. But you can also go out to the actual vineyards, the wineries, where you can actually see the wine growing, and you may have an experience of a restaurant with a wine pairing or just a tasting there. So there's definitely a variety. So the ones I went to, the Brown Estate tasting room, downtown Napa. Another great place to go is Vin Noir. This is just a tasting room, and they serve wines from a variety of vineyards within the region. So you can go in there and try different wines from different places where you probably won't be able to go to. Another place to go to that is great is, hopefully I'm saying this right, Gloria Ferrer. They are an award-winning winery. You can go out there for a tasting. I did a lunch wine pairing, and I actually had a wine educator come out for every wine and dish and explain how the wine tastes and how and why it's paired with that food. And you try so many different things while you're there. I had so many wines to try. It's definitely a great place to go, and you actually overlook their vineyards when you're trying their wine. Another place to go, which is in downtown Napa, if you are just so interested in them, is that Adam and Tamara, I think Housley, I think that's their last name, but Tamara Mowry, who is half of the twin duo of Tia and Tamara, they own a tasting room in downtown Napa. It is cheaper, so if you want to just save some money, you can go there. It's only $25, and you get to taste 4 different wines, I believe, 4 or 5 wines, which is very cheap for a wine tasting, but it's really cute on the inside. They call their tasting area the living room, and it looks like that. You kind of relax and you can enjoy your tasting by yourself or with others in that space. So those are just a few tasting rooms to try, which barely scrapes the surface because there's so many wineries and vineyards within the region. Also, it's a great place to just slow down and relax. So go and get a massage. There are different spa and massage rooms out there. I went to Osmosis Spa, which is in more of the Sonoma region. I enjoyed the experience. I did have a few things about it. I personally wouldn't go back because they did not explain up front that you couldn't use American Express. I would not have booked there if they would have told me, hey, we don't take this form of payment. So they didn't really explain the methods of payment available upon booking. I found out after all of my service had been completed. They didn't even tell me when I entered. They told me at the end, when I literally was pulling out my card, we accept Visa and MasterCard. I don't like when you don't tell me all the stipulations about my money, okay? And then I was reading some other reviews where people have complained about not being notified about fees. So that's something, if you're really interested in going there, which it was a nice experience, even though that experience kind of went out the window when my blood pressure raised at the register. But definitely you want to ask if there's going to be any other fees, methods of payment, all of that before you confirm your booking. Now, I've kind of mentioned this a little bit that I flew into San Francisco. I do recommend, if you haven't been out to the region, to explore San Francisco. In San Francisco, you can take the cable car because that is like a historic thing to do there. You get to see some sights, go to the Fisherman's Wharf. I went to a place called Lovejoy's Tea Room. So again, I like tea. So if you like tea, you can go there. It has like more of an English afternoon tea flair, especially on the inside. Definitely book in advance if you can. I did not because I was flying in that day. So I didn't want to book it and then not make it on time. But they did take me, and they had an outside seating area as well. So there are a lot of different things you can do in San Francisco if you would like. I do recommend it if you have never been to the area before, to just do some exploration around the city. Okay, so this was my solo travel guide, first time visitor to the Napa Valley area, and things you can do for a quick weekend trip or an extended weekend trip out to the region as a solo traveler. And it may give you some ideas if you are not a solo traveler. So just to recap what we talked about, I talked about some things you need to plan and prepare for in advance. I talked about the transportation, I talked about safety, and of course I talked about some activities, things to do, and where to stay if you are ever out in Napa Valley or Sonoma County. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit that like button. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. It is free for you to do so, and it helps me provide more and better content to you in the future. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you share this video with your friends, family, and social media networks so they can learn a little bit more about visiting Napa Valley and Sonoma as well. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day or night wherever in the world you are. Bye.